Hello and welcome to the Euphonium Summit, Farm for Dreams. I have a special guest all the way from Italy joining us. Amazing composer I found online through my research and such. His name is Matteo Tundo. This is Matteo Tundo. He's an Italian composer of acoustic and electroacoustic music. His primary interest in composition is the perception and cognition of the sound event, the neural mechanisms that lead to the signification of sound. His work is focused on the application of neuroaesthetics in musical composition. After learning guitar as his primary, he devoted himself literally and totally to composition and new technologies, and you'll get to find out some really cool stuff. And I'll leave the links below for what he has. Studying at conservatories in Florence, Parma, Lugano, and the Accademia Nazionale di Santa Cecilia. If I butchered that, I am sorry. I am an American, and I will try better, especially when we actually have a live event, and I can't wait to clue you guys in on some really awesome stuff. His compositions have been played in Italy, Germany, Portugal, France, Spain, Greece, Switzerland, Austria, the United States, Iran, Korea, Japan, Australia, and he has participated as a composer in many international festivals. Check out all those festivals and links to them right below. His compositions have been awarded or recommended in international competitions, and especially what's about to happen. Welcome, Matteo Tundo.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be here, and thank you for this beautiful opportunity.
Well, let's get right at it for the Euphonium Summit 2023. And thank you for preparing and taking this time to set apart for our audience and for future and current euphonium students globally. So when did you start composing? I know you said in the bio you started composing after you started playing guitar. Do you want to kind of clue us in on when you started playing guitar and then bringing that in?
Yeah. I started as a guitar player. My journey into music began around when I was around 11. And however, my fascination quickly shifted from performance to a creative field, we can say. And indeed, around the age of 17, I started delving into the art of crafting my own musical pieces. And even during my time studying jazz, because I studied jazz also, jazz guitar.
Wow.
My passion was distinctly geared towards composition rather than performance. And this enthusiasm for composing led me to pursue formal education in composition with a specific focus on technology.
That's incredible. And that technology aspect really plays out, especially within this interview. That's one of the main reasons why, like, it's the cutting edge of what we have available to us and what you're able to do over there in Italy and on the global stage. It's just transformative. When did you first involve the euphonium baritone into your compositions?
Back in 2019, I was in a composition workshop when I got introduced to the euphonium by Alessandro Castelli, who's currently teaching euphonium at the conservatory in Milano. And he was the one who really opened my eyes to this amazing instrument and the instrument's technical capabilities. It's great. And that was the moment when I decided to incorporate the euphonium into my own compositions. So I set out to create a solo piece for euphonium titled Germinazioni. that I finished in 2020. And I was lucky enough to have the incredibly talented Marina Boselli perform it. Marina Boselli is an incredible performer, and she's very, very young. So
we'll leave links below. Don't worry.
Yeah. And that marked the beginning of a pretty awesome collaboration with Marina. Indeed, in 2022, I had the chance to work on another composition in Nesti, this time for euphonium and live electronics, played by Marina and me on live electronics. And now, in these past few months, me and some other Italian composers, Maria Vittoria Agresti, Pasquale Punzo, Daniele Vulpiani, with the collaboration of Giuseppe Silvi, we are deep into a project with Marina. And we are actually putting together an album that it's scheduled for release in the early months of next year.
That's incredible. Is it fully funded as we currently speak?
Yeah.
That's amazing. Wow. That's really cool. So many questions to dive deeper into what you have coming along. When did you first start taking private lessons for composition?
I actually began taking private composition lessons while I was studying jazz guitar at the conservatory when I was around 20, I think. And I continued with these private lessons for many years. And after this period of private lessons, I decided to formally study composition at the conservatory. And so this marked the transition from my initial exposure to the formal pursuit of compositional knowledge.
And that's when you first realized that you really wanted to pursue this as a dream career?
Yeah, I think so. I started thinking about a music career when I enrolled in the conservatory, but the realization that I want to fully dedicate myself to composing came a bit later, maybe around 25.
That's great. That's awesome. When you first started composing, what did your space look like? Did you go outdoors and like draw it from nature, or were you indoors mostly, or how did that like look as you went from guitar to composing?
Yeah. My true start in composing was around 2018. And my workspace hasn't really changed a lot since then. I work a lot with a big desk with speakers, computer, and lots of paper.
And what kind of apps are you using for your works while you write? Is it just a manuscript paper, or do you actually go online and use
both? But I work a lot by hand. But about my approach and mindset, we can say that's gone through quite an evolution now. And when I was just getting into it, my approach was pretty instinctive and a bit immature, we can say. I dive into writing with a sort of raw enthusiasm and not much of plan. And nowadays things are very different. I've learned to set up a work plan based on deadlines and as much as possible stick to it. There's more structure in what I do. And I've come to appreciate the value of planning and being organized.
That steps right into that structure that you're speaking about, that routine. How do you set yourself up for success in that routine on a daily basis, or is that weekly? How do you go about that?
Yeah, I have to say that my approach is quite musical in nature. For example, I think about how a piece could be structured or how certain sonic elements can evolve and interact. My goal is to create compositions that evoke distinct auditory experience for the listener. And so my routine, my inspirations tend to arise from within the musical domain itself, rather than external influences, we can say. Or for example, the capabilities of a particular instrument, for example, can profoundly inspire me, as in the case of the euphonium.
You know, that's really interesting that you bring out, because as I was listening this morning to your two compositions specifically for euphonium, and listening to the contrast and some of the you covered multiphonics, but you covered a lot of really peculiar techniques, especially when it comes to the beginner artist and the secondary artists, that they don't that's not a typical sound or an experience. So it for me, it was really engaging. It's like, what's next? And I just really excited, because if our audience goes and views these two pieces that were performed by Marina Bozelli, I said that correct, right?
Boselli, right.
Bozelli. You know, the dynamic contrast, the mechanical contrast, and the technical ability, just it brings such a different dynamic and interplay with the mind and the auditory, just like you said, that auditory experience. It's wow, just really well done.
Thank you.
So what genre of music is your go-to in getting your mind focused in leading up to sitting down and writing your thoughts down as per maybe a transcription on your manuscript, stuff like that?
Yeah, I'm pretty much for listening to any genre of music. Of course, I usually prefer contemporary music or electroacoustic music, but I'm also into rock, ambient music, or of course jazz. I studied it, but I listen everything. It depends about on the mood I want a little bit, but I think it's important to listen everything. And
I do. I agree. So on that particular going deeper onto that question, kind of off script here, is, have you considered as a composer or trying to bring in, you brought in multiphonics in some really awesome aspects. As I see compositions being built out, especially for like the United States marching band or brass bands or any other feature, have you considered adding a beatboxing, like more vocal tonal elements with like pedals? This is like further advanced stuff.
it could be interesting. Could be interesting. I will study it a little bit.
There's some really interesting artists, 3 Bears or 7 Bears. I know I'm probably getting it wrong, but I listened to a few beatboxers. There's a few beatboxer euphonium players. No, not a few, very few. I should say
Okay.
very few. Maybe I'll send you a link over.
Yeah, thank you.
Get you some interest into that.
Yeah, for example, for Innesti, I worked a lot with Marina. So it's a piece absolutely for her. So we studied together and we write together. So it's a piece that is grow up with her.
That's amazing. So basically you birthed a new work, a genesis of such, and beautiful. That's, oh man, I can't I really can't wait for that. Is there going to be a digital download for that CD by chance?
Will be.
That would be amazing. Once that does go live, I will hope to leave a link below for that access to grab a copy of that amazing list of, wow, just I'm so looking forward to that. By all means. Alrighty. So wow. Okay, so we talked about some of the equipment that you first started with, and you utilize a lot of that still now. Have you brought in, and this is more geared to you as the technological aspect of composition within what we just spoke about with pedals? Have you included any pedal work beyond the piece that you just premiered with Marina Bozelli?
Not really, because I wanted to be on the stage with Marina, so I prefer to be a performer with Marina. But it's absolutely possible. I can do absolutely. I can use a pedal and organize the patch, the electronic patch with a pedal. But in that case, I prefer to be on stage because I wanted to have this relationship,
Yes.
between, and I want to watch her and to create this kind of particular moment.
So diving on that, have you heard of Dave Matthews Band?
Yeah.
Okay. Most people have. If you don't, you need to. It's a really awesome group. You really, so with what you just said, you could literally do a 2-person hint for all the future artists that want to make euphonium a career, or if you're a digital artist, composer, or love playing with pedals and you don't really know what to do with it, this is going to be it. Listen close, because this is definitely off script. Just I'm just shooting from what I'm like brainstorming here. This is a super fantastic opportunity for future artists to get involved with stuff like this, because they can literally go set up in a restaurant. A 2-person team like this can set up in a restaurant and create something with a foundation like Matteo Tundo's work here, and create something so original like Dave Matthews Band. When you go see their live performances, it sounds similar, but there's no way that experience, that originality, can be captured. If there just can't be, unless you record it. And to get that repeated would be amazing, but that originality, that's a showstopper mentality to like set yourself up for business success. And possibly, and I wanted to get into this later, but I might as well say it, if you want to like really delve deeper into this, hit or right below interested at this point, interested in making this a career, in claiming your artist identity, and seeing how compositions like Matteo Tundo, or even if he were to commission or if we are to do a competition to get commissions for you and for Matteo Tundo and all those that are going to come after all this inception, all this beauty of what we've created through the Euphonium Summit. Oh man, just wow, that was really cool. I mean, that's the whole idea behind adding that live element is
Yeah.
the originality.
Yeah, interaction.
So what you wrote originally on that piece specifically, was it just a kind of framework and a idea of where you wanted a roadmap?
Yeah, I had some ideas, and then we go deeper with Marina, and then we project the the entire score, with the score for live electronics also. And but we worked really together, and we can say composed together the piece in like 2 weeks.
That's amazing.
Of intense work.
So did it change, or obviously it manifested into something greater, but did the initial piece, what you actually sat down to write at first, it must have created a metamorphosis of such into something far larger or complex?
Yeah, I think so. And now it's a small piece, for example, but I think that could be larger and could be more something more.
So it's up to the partnership between the live. So if they were to order this specific framework, you would encourage those that do want to explore your framework for Inisti to really dive into that synchronicity, in a sense, synchronize with your partner and to build something from that.
The interaction for me right now is one of the most important aspects of doing music. So absolutely.
Yeah, I never considered, like, up till seeing that performance, like, I just never can. I had a limiting, like, as a euphonium player, a professional, and knowing that, you know, there's only a certain amount of jobs for us, specifically speaking, and to reach out beyond that realm, that normality that has been kind of our glass ceiling for a euphonium player and a euphonium artist. You really shatter that glass ceiling with bringing this aspect and newness to our world, and that's a special showcasing that I hope to encourage other light composers to really grasp hold of. And if they are doing it, great. I would love to know even more into this and help really solidify euphonium on the world stage, because this right here, it's just fabulous. Bravissimo, Matteo.
Thank you.
Okay, so just how did you begin to implement these technologies and equipments into your daily routine and well, I mean, it's all about inspiration, right? How did you start implementing this stuff?
Well, I studied electroacoustic music also in conservatory. So
so a lot of us don't know what that means, or how what that process goes. How that process goes. So if you could break it down to someone in like secondary or high school, or even the junior high, because there's a lot of sound mixer apps and stuff like that, and so maybe they have that like premise, that idea
can
of
help. I think so. I think so. Currently, we are absolutely submersed by technology. So I think it's something that we can use absolutely for creativity, and it's an opportunity. For example, in the last years, the artificial intelligence could be used, and technology, it's something that have to be used for our purpose, but it's not the contrary. So it's important that we have not to be used by technology.
How to use it through the perspective of one's own eyes.
Yeah.
So do you utilize any specific apps in these with technology?
I use a lot of things, a lot. I used a lot of softwares for synthesis and elaboration of sounds. For example, Max MSP, C Sound, and for DAW, I use Logic Pro or Reaper. It depends on what I need. What kind of sound I need, but I use a lot of softwares.
That's awesome. Okay, and as far as dampeners, I know this is, or even, I guess it would really come down to the acoustical elements of the stage or the conditions in which you find yourself in. But what would be the most ideal space you would want to create some beauty out of with a piece? Like we were talking about the duality between yourself and Marina and coming together in such a place. What would be the ideal atmosphere? I guess would be the question. Totally off script again, but
can you explain a little bit
yeah,
more?
sure. Like in the performance that I'll link below on YouTube of an SD, is that the ideal atmosphere that you would like to have, or precise conditions in which to work on? Or do you think do you find your ability to adapt to a harsher environment as far as noise constraints or acoustical properties?
You mean about the space, the concert space, or
Yes, concert
the
space.
concert space?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, it depends. It depends on the situations. It's not every time possible to have the best acoustical conditions and the best, and sometimes we have to be a little bit flexible. Absolutely. But I think it's important to be quite, how to say, sure about what you want. If you want, for example, a very resonant space, it's important that you will have a good resonant space. Maybe not absolutely the same what's in your mind, but similar as possible. So I think the most important thing is you have a very good idea of what I want in terms of musical things and in terms of acoustic situation. And then you can be, of course, you have to be, of course, a little bit flexible on these ideas.
So going back to the soundboard and the electrical components and the application, especially with MIDI and the connectivity, have you considered, and this is off script because I know I didn't write this in the questionnaire, do you know the system called silent brass system?
Yeah.
That mute, and it's much larger for euphonium and even more so for tuba.
It's more for study, right?
For study, yes, but they do have a MIDI interface that you could utilize and punch into. You see where I'm going with this?
No, I never did, but it could be really interesting.
It would. And then with other like mute aspects, French horns like to stick different things in their horn for mutes. Same with trumpets and trombones for different sounds. Euphoniums typically have plastic or wood or metal, the three basics, right? The electrical components, like, or the interface that you could hook up, and this is totally off the questionnaire list, so you're getting some really awesome content, and I really appreciate Matteo Tundo's patience, and give him a huge shout out and let him know what this interview means to you as an artist, either as a composer or as we are really trying to draw out the inspiration in each of you, because this is what it's really about, is the current and future euphonium artists, composers, or even on the grander stage of like symphonies and orchestral arenas throughout the world.
About mutes, I suggest to watch a work by Giuseppe Silvi that I don't remember the name, but it's easy to find if you write Giuseppe Silvi euphonium. It's a work for ensemble, and I think he's working on it, but he had a premiere the last year. And he built a mute for euphonium. It's very special. It's an enormous mute with microphones inside. So it's very, very complex, but super interesting. And we are working with Marina and some other guys for create some new mutes for euphonium.
Oh, that's awesome. Is that going to be featured on this new CD by chance?
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow, what a treat. Even more exciting, right? So when you started writing for euphonium, did you just learn as you started with Marina Bozelli, with bringing the euphonium into your composition?
Yeah.
So why did you start? Why euphonium?
Maybe I did not understand the main question.
Okay, so I think you did.
Okay.
So Marina Bozelli was the first really interplay of building works for euphonium.
Yeah. For me, yes. For me,
okay,
yes.
awesome.
I discovered the euphonium with Alessandro Castelli, but the first approach, we can say, with the instrument, physical approach, was with Marina. Yes.
Perfect. Okay, that's great. So when you started working that initial counterplay, I guess it would be kind of counterplay, right? What kind of what did you learn about yourself during all that process, with all this new stuff like emerging from within?
Well, for composers, when you discover a new instrument, it's like for a baby with a toy. It's something like that. Absolutely enthusiasm. And when you see that the euphonium has a lot of technical capabilities, and it's not just an accompaniment instrument, is something more, and could be very fast, can be high, and could be incredible. And so it's I think that it was just like a baby with a toy.
That's fantastic. have the two particular pieces been entered into any competitions?
Really, no, I think no.
Not yet. Not yet.
Not yet. Not yet.
Try not to spill the beans. Awesome. So what are three what are I'm skipping ahead because we've covered a lot of the different aspects, and
Yeah.
what are three things that you wish you could have applied when you first started composing, that you're teaching others, or even like as we're talking now, what are three things and ideas that you want to impart on our artists of all levels and composers on the global stage here?
Yeah, that's a quite complex question.
It is.
And I have two key aspects come to mind. Firstly, I would emphasize the value of stepping beyond the academic boundaries early on, participating in international master classes or international festivals. It's important to have an international view. And sometimes, you know, educators tend to shield their students, but breaking free from this sheltered environment is important for establishing a presence in the broader musical landscapes after studies. And secondly, a continuous thirst for learning, I think is really crucial. However, as one's maturity grows, it's important to shift from a student mindset to a professional one. I think that's quite important. And I try now to emphasize that to my students.
Awesome. So how many students have you taken the professor role? When did you start taking the professor role in teaching your techniques?
Well, I started to teach in 2020 in conservatory in Italy, and currently I teach in the conservatory of Vicenza. It's close to Venezia, and I teach electroacoustics. That is a very a technical, more technical subject. But I try to my approach always focuses on fostering my students' creativity and encouraging them to explore new avenues of expression. So that's why I started teaching when I was 27.
That's amazing. So what's your process when, like, okay, we talked about structure, routine earlier in our in this interview.
Yep.
What would you say would be your current evaluation process when it comes to taking on new projects or evaluating their complexity?
My approach mainly revolves around time management. It's all about realistically assessing how much time is available for a specific work, a specific task, and how much time that task truly demands. I also allow some leeway for issues. And of course, it's not a simple process, and it's something that comes with experience. And I must admit that there are times when I misjudge the situation, and I find myself dealing with a workload that needs to be completed within a tight time frame. But it's all part of the journey, and I've learned to develop strategy to handle such situations with the least disruption possible. And so creating a schedule and organizing project is crucial to prevent potential disasters.
Right. I think that's a big key right there.
Yeah.
So
And to organize a Euphonium summit also.
absolutely. Absolutely. And the future ones going forward. That's definitely it. So at what age did you start learning guitar?
Around 11.
11?
Around 11, yeah.
And was that something that you wanted to do, or did your parents encourage you to pick up an instrument?
Yes, I've been fortunate in this aspect. My family has always embraced my ambitions and supported them. Of course, there have been moments of disagreements, but these were always resolved through understanding and encouragement. You know, choosing a career in music is a significant decision and can sometimes be challenging to accept. Especially because of its inherent uncertainties. However, I firmly believed, I believe in the importance of pursuing what you're truly passionate about and give it your all. And the journey can be difficult, doubts may arise, but if you're truly committed to something, I'm sure that you can achieve it.
Outstanding. So did your parents play any musical instruments?
No.
Oh,
I'm
that's
the first musician in the family.
and professional at that. That's fantastic. So when, oh man, there's so many. I would like to dive a little deeper into some of that, but I want to give our audience something to look forward to for this next summit after this, and more than likely a live summit. So moving forward here.
I'm ready.
So really very exciting. I do have a question though on that. Were your parents live at any of your euphonium pieces per se, or have seen your works?
Yeah. They saw it. They saw my works. I have to say they did not understand really much what I do normally, but of course I appreciate the
Support.
the support.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's really awesome that they would just step up to support you, and even though they didn't know what really was going on, it was okay. They were there for
Yeah.
you.
Exactly.
That's awesome. So oh man. Okay, so what instruments do you currently play on in your personal free time?
Well, of course, I began with the guitar, so I still play the guitar quite frequently in my personal time, not in live performance, but in personal time, both classical and electric guitar. I also play sometimes the piano, and in live performance, I sometimes take on the role of a live electronics performer.
Oh, that's really cool. A lot of I almost want to say that here in the US, when someone says live electronics performer, they think DJ.
Yeah. I think in Italy too, but no,
you have
unfortunately.
such a different twist on it. Like I don't think when I think of DJ and I see your pieces and see where you're going with them, DJ doesn't really quite fit that.
Yeah, of course. No, I'm not a DJ, and I have nothing against DJs, of
Right.
course. It's a great work, but I'm not a DJ. I work with other kind of stuff. Uh, Live electronics is more related to contemporary music, in the sense of contemporary and electroacoustic music.
Right. That's really
It,
interesting. I think there's going to be a lot of questions below, or email to you, or I'm
Absolutely.
yeah. It's going to be interesting to see what truly transcends this conversation that we're having right now. So I really do appreciate your time and part of your contributions. It's just really exceptional. So we've covered a few more of the questions, especially like teaching others and how to really capture their own creativity. What other what opportunities do you see your students or the future artists, current and future artists, having now, or like fairly new in the future, that they could start like taking advantage of, or how to start getting involved with stuff like bringing this like whole different world and
Yeah.
making it their own?
Well, students today have an abundance of opportunities to explore, and the future holds even more potential. And today, the easy of sharing, as we see, makes it simpler for students to discover, learn, create. And this extends to building global networks, as we are doing now, collaborating and gaining visibility. That is something important for musicians.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that students should try to collaborate as much as possible in international context.
That is definitely something that I I am anticipating with just offering an international summit of sorts, especially for euphonium, because we have to jump outside that box, or outside of a natural stage, in a way that we can find our own voice as euphonium artists on the global stage. What better way than to add a unique element to include Matteo Tundo's works, or even future collaborations? We'll leave the links below for how to get in contact with him, to find out all you can about him, or how to get involved, or even one of his students at a future time and date. Who knows? It's something truly transpiring, like how your work was with Anisi, with Marina Bozelli, and how that piece went from just a basically a sheet of paper, I would suppose, to a larger
Maybe,
framework.
yeah, maybe 5 or 6 pages.
Okay, so that's gonna be exciting. That's gonna be exciting. So any final thoughts as we wrap up Euphonium Summit and our interview here currently? Any final thoughts, sayings, principles that have made a tremendous impact on how you write music, how you live your daily life, or anything you want to impart?
Well, approaching everything with a curious and open mind has been my guiding principle. And this mindset encourages continuous learning, creative exploration, research, and finding joy in every aspect of music, practice, performance, and of course, daily life.
Okay, so I lied, Matteo. I am sorry. So as I was telling you about something that had happened to me not less than half a day ago,
Mhm.
and as I've been developing these questions, what caused you to be inspired in such a way to dive into this neural aesthetics, your pieces? Like, can you clue us in on, like, how do you prepare to open your mind as a performer? Like Marina, I look forward to the interview at some point here, but as we have you with us right now, how does an artist, a composer, open their mind to this newness, this creativity? Like, how
Mhm.
how do they get started?
I don't know. That's the answer. I don't know. I think it's something natural. It's important to be curious. If you're curious about life, and you want to discover new sounds, you want to discover new instruments, you want to listen new music, and if you're curious, you want to discover people, new nations. It's I think it's something natural. Of course, you can work on it, of course, but I think I have not really an answer how to do something like that. It's for me, it's absolutely necessary. We can say no. It's something necessary.
That's
Yeah.
perfect. That's really perfect, actually. As we've covered on other interviews for the Euphonium Summit, improvisation. You mentioned at the very inception of our conversation, at the initial point, you learned jazz guitar,
Yeah.
and that improv, that just going with it, or going with the flow, as a lot of us would say. Scales would be a big thing, and knowing your capabilities as you mature and expounding those, as we were discussing, as Matteo was outlining kind of the process of the creative mind as far as student artists, to the maturity you're to undergo in this journey as an artist, as someone who wants to take this more serious in your daily routine, in your life, your livelihood.
Yeah.
And so that really kind of circles back around to the top of our conversation. If you want to uh cover back, just rewind, go over from the start, and uh dive deep into what we say. If you have any questions, comment below, ask away. I'll leave all the details, or should have left all the details of how to be part, or bring this into your life as part of a perspective, kind of like how Farm for Dreams has a diamond as part of a carrot. Each way you look through that diamond, that lens, is a different perspective. And this is just one lens that you can focus your talent and endeavor in, and just another way to pull out who you truly are as an artist, and the possibilities and the potential that you could create in your world. Thank you so much for stepping in and stepping up to becoming an artist, Matteo
Thank you.
Tundo, for joining us today for Euphonium Summit 2023. And we look so much forward to bringing you in on such a more dynamic level, and seeing how your career progresses over this next year, and your compositions, that new CD release. Very exciting. Matteo, thank you so much.
Thank you really much. I'm absolutely honored to be here with you, and so have a good Euphonium Summit.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Have a great one. Bye, everyone.